We got the word out of Indy, everybody. Jonathan Taylor is coming back to the Indianapolis Colts. Here's the head coach, Shane Steichen.
And then regards to Jonathan Taylor, he'll be back with the team. He's practicing Wednesday. He'll be out there with us. Had great conversations with him. He's super excited to be back with his teammates and looking forward to having him.
Obviously, this is great news. And when he's back on his full slate of reps, Jonathan Taylor must start. That's obvious information. But there are some issues in play. First and foremost, he hasn't practiced with the Colts since mid-December of last year. Hasn't practiced with Steichen. Hasn't practiced with Anthony Richardson. He may have never even taken a handoff from Anthony Richardson yet. Remember, he had the surgery for his ankle, and then he had the whole holdout thing. That's kind of an issue, right? You want your running back to be in good shape. And that brings us to the next point. He might be in good shape. I mean, he's a professional athlete, but is he in game shape? Here's Steichen.
He's in good shape conditioning wise. Obviously, putting on the pads and practicing is a different deal. I know it's been a long time since he's played football. So we'll see, how practice goes this week, see where he's at physically from, putting the pads on, and we'll go from there.
There's also the issue of his upside playing with Anthony Richardson. I mean, we've already seen Richardson score rushing touchdowns pretty much at will. And the running back that he's played with, Zach Moss, 2 games ago, Moss was awesome against Baltimore. But in week 4, was he that good? Single-digit fantasy points, maybe double digits in full PPR, but not the type of production that fantasy managers really want to get or certainly expect to get out of Jonathan Taylor. And we talked about that issue with Taylor back in July before the ankle, before the holdout. We knew that his upside was capped. And now that he's already missed 4 games at least, his upside's probably in the neighborhood of 1,200 total yards and 8 touchdowns. It's not the same type of upside that he would have had if he had played all season long, and certainly if his quarterback wasn't Anthony Richardson. And I guess I just have to say this part. We don't know for sure that he's rescinded his trade request or that he doesn't want to hold out anymore. It sounds like there's no trade talks coming. Reports have been out there about that. So I think he's ready to play ball. When might he be back on the field? Look, it took Zach Moss 2 weeks of practice after he broke his forearm. This might take even longer for Taylor. We don't know for sure, but you've got to expect there to be a ramp-up period for Jonathan Taylor. And because of that ramp-up period, maybe his first game back won't be quite what you expect.
I think, obviously just seeing how practice goes, feeling him too is, where he's at, from a football standpoint. Obviously the conditioning, he's been working his tail off with the rehab process. He's feeling good. So we'll have those conversations throughout the week, and then we'll make that decision.
So here's where I'm at on Taylor. If there's somebody in your league that's crazy about him and they're going to give you 2 really good starters, like first-round value in trade, they're overvaluing Jonathan Taylor, I think you take it. I know that Jonathan Taylor is a great asset, and if everything is perfect in Indianapolis, then he's going to be a top 10 type of fantasy running back. But I'm not sure everything's going to be perfect. If you have the opportunity to sell very high, emphasis on very high, you should do it with Taylor. Sell him very high. But if you can't sell high on him, you still have a very good running back who should be productive for your team, hopefully for the rest of the season. What do you do with Zach Moss? Eventually, he's going to be a part-time player for the Colts. He might end up just being a handcuff for Jonathan Taylor. It's not going to be pretty. Might be good for around 6 or 7 fantasy points at max from week to week. And as for Anthony Richardson, look, I don't think this offense is about to morph into being all about Jonathan Taylor. You're going to see plenty of Anthony Richardson, just as you saw in week 4, 33 fantasy points. The guy's awesome. He rolls out of bed and he finds the end zone, and then he puts up 50 rushing yards at least on top of it. He's going to be a handful for defenses to deal with from game to game. That's not changing. This offense is still going to revolve around him. He remains a must-start fantasy quarterback. With all that being said, is there a chance that Taylor plays in week 5? Steichen said this.
Shane, I think you may have just answered this, but I want to make sure I got you. You said we'll rotate him in if he's ready to go for sure. Does that mean there's a chance he plays Sunday?
There could be, yeah. Yeah.